So I was just going to start doing the videotape, and it started raining pretty good. So I'll explain what I'm doing first, and then you can watch me do it. All right, so I have a turkey fryer, and I have an old canning pot, and I stack that full of wax all the way to the top. And then I pour water over the top of that until it's just level with the top of the wax. And that's all the wax that, old comb. You should change them out every 3 to 5 years, or sometimes quicker, depending on your mite load. If you really have a bad mite load, you want to change out your comb a little quicker. But I scrape it off and I throw it in that pot, and if it stops raining, I'll show you. And so then I put the pot on the fryer, and I just start up and bring it to a boil. And then over here on this side, I strain out all the big chunks and stuff. It's all the castings that are left inside the cells, and get as much as I can out. And I throw it in that little 3-gallon bucket over here, right there. And then I put that strainer on the 5-gallon bucket over here, and then I just pour it across that strainer. The wax will float to the top. The propolis will float just underneath that wax. All the other dirt that you didn't get out with this skimmer will fall to the bottom. Put it somewhere for about 24 hours. That water will stay hot. That wax on top will act as an insulation, and it will stay right at the top. I think it stopped raining a little bit. So just doing it once, you can get a chunk of wax, and this is just the bubbles that were in there. But you can see how thick that wax is. That was a lot with the boil. And this is all propolis at the bottom, and a little bit of dirt. I'm going to refine this down once more, and that way it'll be even cleaner than it already is. If you do it too many times, you'll actually bleach it out, and it'll start turning white. But you don't want to do that. You want to keep that nice yellow, especially if you're making candles and crafts. People really like to see that. All right, let's see what we can do here.
That was a nice quick round.
Yep. As you can see, this stuff's been sitting in that pot for a while. It's really dark, black. It's really nasty. And now it's the waiting process. Usually that turkey fryer heats it up pretty quick, probably in about 5 or 10 minutes. It'll be boiling, or well, it'll be enough that the wax is already starting to melt. And then I can add in some more wax that's over here in that bucket, and refine that down. And all that blackness that will come out, there will be dirt at the bottom of that pan. There will be who knows what. It's all the castings and everything, and other debris. So this will be the cake that you get at the top of that 5-gallon bucket. Depending on how much wax you put in there, naturally it'll be how thick that wax is. Trying to get it in the light right. And this I haven't broken off. This is just dirt. All this stuff on top, so you want to break that off before you do it again. You can scrape off all that propolis and make it a lot easier. It's pretty thick right there. There was a lot of propolis on that one. I'm gonna go drop it down in the driveway while that heats up. Looks like it's starting to melt up a little bit. Melt down, I guess. All right, so you can see it's thinner now and much cleaner on the bottom. This propolis is dirty. You can clean the propolis. I usually just scrape it off into a bucket and then I sell it like that, dirty. So people like it, they'll take it, they'll clean it, or some people just eat it the way it is, which I don't think I'd be eating that, but hey, well, to each their own. So, light's really bad since it was just raining. Wax, that darker is the better propolis, and then just this dirt here. So that will come off in the next heating. So that wax has been inside that pressure cooker, or not pressure cooker, canning pot for, I don't know, 10 months or so. It's really smelling bad. But it's already starting to melt. The wax is already looking better. It's just the water turns really muddy kind of looking, and it will clear up. I really have a problem with waiting, so I'm getting bored and impatient. But it's actually going pretty quick. We're 13 minutes into the video and it's already melted pretty good. It's starting to rain again. Warmer day, it would definitely melt quicker just because that flame's having to fight the wind and the rain. I would do it in my honey house, but it's pretty moist in there. The roof was leaking. Here comes my boy. He's not too sure. Callie, no. Getting there. Stirred it up and saw steam come out, so definitely getting better. The water has definitely changed some color there. It's not quite clear anymore. And if you do store that wax like I did, and I just didn't get time to get back to it, I poured a bunch of water in there, because if you leave it just the wax in there, in that nice dark area, wax worms or wax moths will find their way in there, and you come back in a month or two and it is nothing but feces in the bottom, and there's hardly any wax left. Once you melt it down and you get that big clump, once you melt it down, you get these big clumps of wax. The wax moths won't do anything to it. What they're looking for is mainly that protein in the propolis, and they're feeding on that and the wax. But if you melt it down where it's hard to get into, then they'll leave it alone. I've had that waxed in that open bucket in my garage for a year, sometimes 2-3 years, and the wax moths leave it alone. I usually dedicate one hive tool to pushing the wax around inside there, because it will just eventually, when it gets really hot and that wax is just liquid, it will cake up on that hive tool. You could still use it in the bee yard, but it's really going to be hard to push in between two boxes. You're going to have to scrape it off pretty good. And the bees also like to land on that hive tool a lot more, because they're like, ooh, nice fresh wax we can steal, and now you got a bunch of bees all over your hive tool. So what I was just flicking out there was the wire inside the foundation from wired foundation. I was just throwing it out. You can use a strainer to pick it out later. So I just saw it floating across the top, so I pulled it out real quick. Rain's picking up again. There's a really nice rainbow on the other side of the overhang here. And of course the rain's going to cool off the top of that lid. May slow it down a couple seconds, but it won't be that big a deal. But it's really starting to ooze now. Should be boiling here very shortly. I may want to grab a glove because the top of that lid is going to be a little hot.